You wanted it, and I'm back. Let's go ahead and talk about some Sammy Davis. Not this Sammy Davis, not that slack-jawed, starving Marvin, lazy-eyed looking bastard. This Sammy Davis, death-defying, badass warrior hero, makes me want to clench my butt cheeks, crank my nipples, and let out a highly motivated woo! Woo! And that brings us to this next segment of Motivated Moments in History. Sammy Davis was born in Ohio in 1946 and raised in California. He's from a long line of war fighters. His grandfather fought in the Spanish-American War and his dad was in World War II. So naturally, Sammy's only goal in life since childhood was to don a military uniform and splatter some brains of indigenous jungle dwellers. He enlisted in the Army in 1965 as an artillery soldier, thus joining the eternal fraternity of blood, splatter, and pain known as the King of Motherfucking Battle. He was assigned to the 4th Artillery Regiment in the 9th Infantry Division and deployed to Vietnam in March 1967. Upon arrival in the country, he went to Fire Base Cudgel, which is west of Cai Lay in the Republic of Vietnam, where he spent his days winning over the hearts and minds of the enemy troops via proximity detonated high explosive cold steel. Around 2 in the morning of November 18, 1967, exactly 192 years, 7 months, and 2 hours after Paul Revere's famous midnight ride, Sammy was manning a machine gun at his fighting position and detected approaching enemy fighters from the 261st Viet Cong Main Force Battalion. His fire base then came under heavy mortar attack and the enemy ground force advanced to his battery's position with a barrage of small arms and heavy machine gun bullets. He immediately started laying down some suppressive lead to allow his unit time to conduct some direct fires with super VC faces. With the VC troops less than 25 meters away and separated from his base perimeter only by a small river, one of those pajama-wearing bastards scored a perfect hit on the cannon, setting it ablaze which only served as ambiance to the badassness that was to come. The blast from the howitzer explosion hurled Davis from behind his machine gun and into a foxhole. Without hesitation, this dude hopped up and started to load his cannon, which was already burning rather furiously. Disregarding the incoming mortar and small arms whizzing all over his freaking face, he conducted direct fire onto the VC and sent those pajama-wearing douchebags to the great rice paddy in the sky. The recoil threw Sammy off the cannon, but he didn't care as he returned to it and loaded yet another round. At that time, a mortar landed 20 meters away and sent him soaring like a graceful bald eagle of democracy that he was. This blast broke his back, but he gave zero shits about it because who has time to worry about a simple injury when it's time to slay some motherfucking bodies? He fired 3 more rounds from his cannon at the enemy. He then ran over to the river with an air mattress and hopped into the water and swam across to save 3 wounded soldiers who were on an OP. When he crossed the river again, he stood up and started laying down some serious pew-pews into the dense vegetation which facilitated the soldiers' rivers crossing and movement into the perimeter. He then crossed the river and joined another gun section and started dropping some semi-fixed ammunition by way of direct fire onto the remaining VC and continued doing so until his gun-toting ninjas realized they weren't just fighting a Pogue artillery unit, they were fighting Sammy motherfucking Davis. The VC fled like the bitches they were, and everyone at that fire base looked at PFC Davis and paid homage to his giant dick, which was just used to mushroom stamp the enemy across their tactically inferior faces. Yeah! Yeah! For these actions, Sammy Davis was awarded the Medal of Honor. His award ceremony was televised, and nearly 25 years later, the face of Tom Hanks was superimposed on his body during the filming of Forrest Gump. Sammy went on to serve until 1984 and was med-boarded out and retired as a Sergeant First Class due to injuries sustained during service. I met Sergeant First Class Sammy Davis in 2004 at a formal unit function when we got back from our first tour in Iraq. He was the guest speaker at our military ball. Now, we all thought we were high speed with our combat patches and our Archons, but then this dude shows up wearing his Medal of Honor and proceeded to teabag all of our hopes and dreams of ever being anything other than a bunch of weak little bitches. This guy's still alive and kicking it today and spends his time walking around town with his giant ball sacks and a motherfucking wheelbarrow. And that, kids, is your Motivated Moments in History.